Scripture portions of the day. Day 8.
Matthew 7. 1. You shall not judge, lest you be judged. 2. For with the judgment that you judge, you will be judged, and with the measure that you measure, it will be measured to you. 3. Why do you notice a chip that is in your brother's eye, and you do not observe the plank that is in your own eye? 4. Or how do you say to your brother, let me cast out the chip from your eye, and behold, a plank is in your eye? 5. Hypocrite! First cast out the plank from your eye, and then you will see to cast out the chip from your brother's eye. 6. Do not give a sacrifice to dogs, neither throw your pearls before wild boars, lest they trample them with their feet, and return to run you through. 7. Ask and it will be given to you, seek and you will find, knock, and it will be opened to you. 8. For everyone who asks receives, and he who seeks finds, and to him who knocks it is opened. 9. And who is the man among you whose son will ask him for bread and will hand him a stone? 10. And if he will ask him for a fish, will he hand him a snake? 11. If therefore you who are evil know to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father who is in heaven give good things to those who ask him? 12. Everything whatsoever you desire that people should do for you, do likewise for them, for this is the law and the prophets. 13. Enter the narrow gate, for the gate is wide, and the road is spacious which leads to destruction, and many are those who are going in it. 14. How narrow is the gate and strict the way that leads to life, and few are those who find it. 15. Beware of false prophets who come to you in lamb's clothing, but from within they are plundering wolves. 16. But by their fruit you will know them. Do they gather grapes from thorns, or figs from thistles? 17. So every good tree produces good fruit, but a bad tree produces bad fruit. 18. A good tree is not able to produce bad fruit, neither a bad tree to produce good fruit. 19. Every tree that does not produce good fruit is cut down and falls into the fire. 20. Therefore by their fruit you will know them. 21. It is not everyone that says to me, my Lord, Lord, who enters the kingdom of heaven, but whoever does the will of my Father who is in heaven. 22. Many will say to me in that day, my Lord, have we not prophesied in your name, and in your name have cast out demons, and have done many mighty works in your name? 23. And then I will confess to them, I have never known you, remove yourselves far from me, you workers of evil. 24. Everyone therefore who hears these my words, and does them, will be likened to the wise man who built his house on solid rock. 25. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the wind blew, and they rushed against the house, and it did not fall, for its foundation was laid on solid rock. 26. And everyone who hears these my words, but does not practice them, will be likened to the foolish man who built his house on sand. 27. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the wind blew, and they rushed against that house, and it fell, and its fall was great. 28. And when Yeshua had finished these words, the crowds were marveling at his teaching. 29. For he was teaching them as one having authority, and not as their scribes and the Pharisees.
Genesis 6, Septuagint. And it came to pass, when men began to be numerous on the earth, and the daughters were born to them, that the sons of Elo-heem, having seen the daughters of men that they were beautiful, took to themselves wives of all whom they chose. And Jehovah Elohim said, My spirit shall certainly not remain amongst these men forever, because they are flesh. But their days shall be numbered 120 years. And now the giants were upon the earth in those days, and after that when the sons of God were wont to go into the daughters of men, they bore children of them. Those were the giants of old, men of renown. And of Jehovah Elohim, having seen that the wicked actions of men were multiplied on the earth, and that every one in his heart was intently brooding over evil continually. Then God laid it on the heart that he had made man upon the earth, and he pondered it deeply. And God said, I will blot out man whom I have made from the face of the earth, every man with cattle, reptile, flying creatures of the sky, for I am grieved that I have made them. But Noah found grace before Jehovah Elohim. And these are the generations of Noah. Noah was a just man, being perfect in his generation. Noah was well-pleasing to God. And Noah begot 3 sons, Shem, Shem, and Japheth. But the earth was corrupt before God, and the earth was filled with iniquity. And Jehovah Elohim saw the earth, and it was corrupted, because of all flesh had corrupted its way upon the earth. And the Jehovah Elohim said to Noah, A period of all men is come before me, because the earth has been filled with iniquity of them, and behold, I destroy them and the earth. Make therefore for thyself an ark of square timber, and thou shalt make an ark in its compartments, and thou shalt pitch it within and without with pitch. And thus thou shalt make an ark, 300 cubits the length of the ark, and 50 cubits the breadth, and 30 cubits the height of it. Thou shalt narrow the ark in making it, and in a cubit above thou shalt finish it. And the door of the ark thou shalt make on the other side, with lower, second, and third stories you shall make it. And that, behold, I bring a flood of water upon the earth, to destroy all the earth, in which is the breath of life under heaven, and whatsoever things that are upon the earth shall die. And I will establish my covenant with thee, and thou shalt enter in the ark, and thy sons and thy wife, and thy sons' wives with thee. And all of thy cattle, and all of thy reptiles, and all the wild beasts, even all the flesh, thou shalt bring by pairs of all unto the ark. Thou mayest feed them with thyself, male and female they shall be. Of all the winged birds after their kind, and all the cattle after their kind, and all the reptiles creeping upon the earth after their kind, pairs of all shall come in to thee, male and female, to be fed with thee. And thou shalt take to thyself all kinds of food which ye eat, and thou shalt gather them to thyself, and there shall be for thee, and them to eat. And Noah did the things whatsoever the Jehovah Elohim commanded him, so he did.
Joshua 10. 1. And when Adoni-Bezek king of Jerusalem heard that Joshua had taken Gai, and had destroyed it, as he did to Jericho, and its king, even so they did to Gai and its king, and that the inhabitants of Gabaon had gone over to Joshua and Israel. 2. Then they were greatly terrified by them, for the king knew that Gabaon was a great city, as one of the chief cities, and all its men were mighty. 3. So Adoni-Bezek king of Jerusalem sent to Elam king of Hebron, and to Phidon king of Jerimoth, and to Jephthah king of Lachish, and to Dabon king of Odalam, saying, For come up hither to me, and help me, and let us take Gabaon, for the Gabonites have gone over to Joshua, and to the children of Israel. 5. And the 5 kings of the Jebusites went up, the king of Jerusalem, and the king of Shebron, and the king of Jerimoth, and the king of Lachish, and the king of Odalam, they and all their people, and encamped around Gabaon, and besieged it. 6. And the inhabitants of Gabaon sent to Joshua into the camp to Galgala, saying, Slack not thy hands from thy servants. Come up quickly to us, and help us, and rescue us. For all the kings of the Amorites who dwell in the hill country are gathered together against us. 7. And Joshua went up from Galgala, he and all the people of war with him, every one mighty in strength. 8. And the Jehovah said to Joshua, Fear them not, for I have delivered them into thy hands. There shall not one of them be left before you. 9. And when Joshua came suddenly upon them, he had advanced all the night out of Galgala. 10. And the Jehovah struck them with terror before the children of Israel, and the Jehovah destroyed them with a great slaughter at Gabaon, and they pursued them by the way of the going up of Oronin, and they smote them to Azekah, and to Makkedah. 11. And when they fled from the face of the children of Israel at the descent of Oronin, then the Jehovah cast upon them hailstones from heaven to Azekah, and they were more that died by the hailstones, than those whom the children of Israel slew with the sword in the battle. 12. Then Joshua spoke to the Jehovah, in the day in which the Jehovah delivered the Amorite into the power of Israel, when he destroyed them in Gabaon, and they were destroyed from before the children of Israel. And Joshua said, Let the sun stand over against Gabaon, and the moon over against the valley of Elon. 13. And the sun and the moon stood still, until Elohim executed vengeance on their enemies, and the sun stood still in the midst of heaven, it did not proceed to set till the end of one day. 14 And there was not such a day either before or after, so that Elohim should hearken to a man, because the Jehovah fought on the side of Israel. 16 And these 5 kings fled, and hid themselves in a cave that is in Makkedah. 17 And it was told Joshua, saying, The 5 kings have been found hid in the cave that is in Makkedah. 18 And Joshua said, Roll stones to the mouth of the cave, and set men to watch over them. 19 But do not ye stand, but pursue after your enemies, and attack the rear of them, and do not suffer them to enter into their cities, for the Jehovah our Elohim has delivered them into our hands. 20 And it came to pass when Joshua and all Israel ceased destroying them utterly with a very great slaughter, that they that escaped took refuge in the strong cities. 21 And all the people returned safe to Joshua to Makkedah, and no one of the children of Israel murmured with his tongue. 22 And Joshua said, Open the cave, and bring out these 5 kings out of the cave. 23 And they brought out the 5 kings out of the cave, the king of Jerusalem, and the king of Shebron, and the king of Jerimoth, and the king of Lachish, and the king of Odalam. 24 And when they brought them out to Joshua, then Joshua called together all Israel, and the chiefs of the army that went with him, saying to them, Come forward and set your feet on their necks. And they came and set their feet on their necks. 25 And Joshua said to them, Do not fear them, neither be cowardly, be courageous and strong, for thus the Jehovah will do to all your enemies, against whom ye fight. 26 And Joshua slew them, and hanged them on 5 trees, and they hung upon the trees until the evening. 27 And it came to pass toward the setting of the sun, Joshua commanded, and they took them down from the trees, and cast them into the cave into which they had fled for refuge, and rolled stones to the cave, which remain till this day. 28 And they took Makkedah on that day, and slew the inhabitants with the edge of the sword, and they utterly destroyed every living thing that was in it, and there was none left in it that was preserved and had escaped, and they did to the king of Makkedah, as they did to the king of Jericho. 29 And Joshua and all Israel with him departed out of Makkedah to Libnah, and besieged Libnah. 30 And the Jehovah delivered it into the hands of Israel, and they took it, and its king, and slew the inhabitants with the edge of the sword, and everything breathing in it, and there was not left in it any that survived and escaped, and they did to its king, as they did to the king of Jericho. 31 And Joshua and all Israel with him departed from Libnah to Lachish, and he encamped about it, and besieged it. 32 And the Jehovah delivered Lachish into the hands of Israel, and they took it on the 2nd day, and they put the inhabitants to death with the edge of the sword, and utterly destroyed it, as they had done to Libnah. 33 Then Elam the king of Gezer went up to help Lachish, and Joshua smote him, and his people with the edge of the sword, until there was not left to him one that was preserved and escaped. 34 And Joshua and all Israel with him departed from Lachish to Odalam, and he besieged it, and took it. 35 And the Jehovah delivered it into the hand of Israel, and he took it on that day, and slew the inhabitants with the edge of the sword, and slew everything breathing in it, as they did to Lachish. 36 And Joshua and all Israel with him departed to Shebron, and encamped about it. 37 And he smote it with the edge of the sword, and all the living creatures that were in it, there was no one preserved, they destroyed it, and all things in it, as they did to Odalam. 38 And Joshua and all Israel returned to Debir, and they encamped about it. 39 And they took it, and its king, and its villages, and he smote it with the edge of the sword, and they destroyed it, and everything breathing in it, and they did not leave in it any one that was preserved, as they did to Shebron and her king, so they did to Debir and her king. 40 And Joshua smote all the land of the hill country, and Negeb and the plain country, and Asadoth, and her kings, they did not leave of them one that was saved, and they utterly destroyed everything that had the breath of life, as the Jehovah Elohim of Israel commanded. 41 From Cades Barn to Gaza, all Gazam, as far as Gabaon. 42 And Joshua smote, once for all their kings, and their land, because the Jehovah Elohim of Israel fought on the side of Israel. Psalm 7. 1 O Jehovah my Elohim, in thee have I trusted, save me from all them that persecute me, and deliver me. 2 Lest at any time the enemy seize my soul as a lion, while there is none to ransom, nor to save. 3 O Jehovah my Elohim, if I have done this, if there is unrighteousness in my hands. For if I have requited with evil those who requited me with good, may I then perish empty by means of my enemies. 5. Let the enemy persecute my soul, and take it, and let him trample my life on the ground, and lay my glory in the dust. Pause. 6. Arise, O Yehovah, in thy wrath, be exalted in the utmost boundaries of mine enemies. Awake, O Yehovah my Elohim, according to the decree which thou didst command. 7. And the congregation of the nations shall compass thee, and for this cause do thou return on high. 8. Jehovah shall judge the nations, judge me, O Yehovah, according to my righteousness, and according to my innocence that is in me. 9. O let the wickedness of sinners come to an end, and then thou shalt direct the righteous, O Elohim that searchest the hearts and reins. 10. My help is righteous, coming from Elohim who saves the upright in heart. 11. Elohim is a righteous judge, and strong and patient, not inflicting vengeance every day. 12. If ye will not repent, he will furbish his sword, he has bent his bow, and made it ready. 13. And on it he has fitted the instruments of death, he has completed his arrows for the raging ones. 14. Behold, he has travailed with unrighteousness, he has conceived trouble, and brought forth iniquity. 15. He has opened a pit, and dug it up, and he shall fall into the ditch which he has made. 16. His trouble shall return on his own head, and his unrighteousness shall come down on his own crown. 17. I will give thanks to Jehovah according to his righteousness, I will sing to the name of Jehovah Most High,